All right, guys. Welcome to the Buff Show. Today we got a good market update coming your way. It's funny because we do our podcast shoots like the middle of every month. Today's June 12th. And typically these updates come out like the 14th. So we were 2 days off. I thought we were going to have to delay this podcast an extra 2 or 3 days, or actually a week, because
we got these this morning. Essentially.
Yeah, I checked them. I checked them last night, and I was like, it was still April, and I was a little upset because it's just been. I have been wanting to review these numbers, so this is going to be a good episode. I feel like there's a lot to talk about, a lot of things going on, and when we were first starting, we're like, do we want to review this together or just like unscripted? Shoot from the hip.
Peyton wants to fight today, so just be ready. Just be ready.
I'm on one a little bit. It's been the past month has been just a fight, like just nose to the grindstone, and we'll get into why. But it's not going how I've wanted it to go with a lot of things. So,
and that's where you're going to see the tensions flare today on how and why we're seeing what we're seeing.
Right. So it should be a good conversation. We were like, should we review these together and like discuss before? Because I don't know what he's going to say. And it's nice because we both have a number of listings going. This is what we're seeing today, June 12th, going past. But keep in mind, we're reviewing May numbers.
Right.
And keep in mind, the May numbers were properties that were going under contract in March and April, right? 30 to 45 day closing. So it's an interesting lag. So what we're seeing today in June won't be closing until July or August. So we'll see those stats start unreeling themselves in those months. So it's just real estate's a really slow. It's hard to get an accurate update of what's actually happening. But I feel like we're in the field every day. We have a pretty good idea, and we have some stories to tell and all of that. So, but let's
just start on. Basically, we're reviewing May. We're going to talk about what happened last month. We've got all the indicators, what we can see, what happened, and we'll give you a review of that. And then I think we're going to start getting into more on what me and Peyton are predicting coming.
Yeah.
/ what we are actually seeing in this month before the hard numbers actually come out.
Yeah.
For the entire state.
So just to start off, May 2024. So U.S. existing home sales fell for the second month in a row, sliding 1.9% month over month and 1.9% year over year, according to the National Association of Realtors, with sales down in all 4 regions of the country, higher borrowing costs and accelerated home prices continuing to weigh demand, pushing some prospective buyers to the sidelines and causing market activity to slump ahead of summer. So just keep that in mind. I think that's a good to note. Higher borrowing costs, accelerating home prices are putting weight on prospective buyers, pushing some to the sidelines. I think I am seeing some of that.
Well, and I see it too, but you take that and it all sounds negative. But what I heard in there is down, but prices are coming up, but down. So I'm getting emotions up and down for both sides. It just depends on what side of the fence you're on.
Right. So new listings, you want to...
All right. New listings from May of 2023 to May of 2024. We have an increase of 9.1%, which is, you're roughly 500 homes. So almost actually exactly 500 homes.
Yeah.
So we are getting more listings, which indicates kind of a slowing market as far as sales go. Or it could indicate, in my opinion, a market picking up. People are ready to sell and ready to not be trapped by their good interest rate, which sounds off.
It's so bizarre how fast the market changes. Like it wasn't 4 years ago when I was like, please, can we just have some more inventory? Because we were dealing with like 2,000 or 3,000 homes on the market. Like it was miserable. Like 2023, there was a point where we had 2,200 homes on the market.
Well, yeah.
It is unreal. And so we're talking a few years later, a year and a half later, we're
double.
We're double that. Yeah. In the month of May. It's just crazy how fast like it changes. And we're talking this massive market, and it's like to go back 2 years ago and to have half the inventory for sale. And I was just like, it was like every house, multiple offers. Like some buyers, I was just like, please, don't send me another buyer because you would write 10 plus offers for one buyer. Buyers were just like, please, like, just accept an offer. We just want a house. We don't want to rent, you know?
Yep.
Crazy market. And now we're in a different spot where
We're begging for buyers to come. And
I'm like, I will take a buyer.
Yeah.
Buyers, please come work with us, because my listings are challenged right now. So, okay, I have pending sales. So pending sales, May of 2023, 3,800. And now we're down to 3,500. So we actually have 7.2% less pending sales. So more inventory, less pending. Interesting. We'll get into those numbers later.
Okay. Closed sales. See, these are the ones that have actually gone under contract, closed out, people moved in. May of 2023, 3,900. May of 2024, 3,930. So we have like a 0.7 tick, which is essentially a flatline heartbeat.
Yeah.
So closed sales are about the same, but once again, our inventory's up. So you would think closed sales would go up, but they haven't.
Yeah. Just flatlining there.
Yep.
Like
Flatlined.
the buyer pool is just same. Days on market until sale. So this is the average days between when the property is listed and when an offer is accepted. This isn't the closing day. This is just your active days on market. So in May of 23, we were 50. In May of 24, we're 49. So we're down 1 day or 2%. Again,
Which is
the same, basically.
flatline. And that's the number that I like to tell a lot of potential sellers. Like, look, this is the average day before you even see a contract and go under, is about 40 to 50 days. So you get a lot of people that are impatient that it's unrealistic to them.
For the state of Utah, though, keep in mind counties are different. So if I were to compare, like, definitely some counties are hotter than others. I have a listing in Box Elder County where their days on market is over 100 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look at like different styles of homes, like if you have a unique property and super expensive, like those properties can tend to take more time. So this is just averages. All properties across all the counties in Utah, your average is about that. But definitely, depending on areas and kind of product or home you're selling, it could vary from there.
All right. So here's one a lot of people like to hear. Median sales price. So remember, we're going to take all the sales in Utah, whack them off from the start and the end until we get to the middle one. So in 2023, the median sales price was $491,000, and in May of 24, $509,000. So we have close to a $20,000 increase and about a 3%, what would you call it, an appreciation in value, give or take. A lot of factors still that play into that, a lot of different scenarios, but prices are creeping up. We're just not seeing the crash that everyone's just licking their lips for.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the peak of the highest prices, median sales prices we have seen was probably spring of 2022. And we dropped in 2023 when rates went way high.
The shock.
Yeah.
We call that the shock factor.
We've been creeping back up, which is crazy. We're not in line with the, 2022, but we're getting pretty dang close up there to where we were.
And, you look at our chart, and this is where, Mickey will plug in our chart. We went crazy, we dropped, and now we're just back on that nice, steady, in my opinion, healthy incline.
And then average sales price, again, the peak was in 2022, and we are slightly under in 2024. But comparing year over year, 2023, we were 610 and we were up to 635. So a positive increase of 3.9%.
Which that's as close as I've seen the average and the median. There's two different ways to calculate that average sales price. That's about as close as I've seen them, because we must not have as many big swing sales, either way low or way high.
Right.
So.
Yeah, because last in April, we were 9%, which is crazy. That's a huge jump.
Well, and then let me just double check that. Oh, now I've lost my page.
Oh, I gotcha.
There we go.
4.2%.
Yeah, so there's a 5% different last month from the median to the average, and this time there's a 0.2%. So that's interesting. I wonder what does that say to you? Those lining up, we're just not seeing the high and low ends aren't moving as good, or
I think that's just I don't know.
Dumb coincidence.
Yeah.
Or reading into it too deep.
Yeah.
Trying to make something out of it.
Yeah. I think we just might have had some different cells that leveled it out a little bit better. But yeah, you got percentage.
Percentage of our original list price received. So in May of 23, we were at 91.7, and May of 24, 97.7. So like a 0.6% increase. So, and if you look back throughout the years, we're still close. I mean, it's still a flat line for almost a year. 1% to 2%, which is a lot when you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. But people are getting close to what they're asking. You know, there is wiggle room. People are concessing a little bit, but they're not giving away the kitchen sink, and people aren't, you know, trying to buy a house with their firstborn child.
It's probably a healthy balance of negotiations,
Which is boring.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of fun.
It's boring when in the fact of, I mean, it's hard to get a home run.
Yeah.
For a seller or a buyer, right?
They're out there, though.
They're out there.
I've had a few this year that I'm like, that was a good deal. So, but if you look back, it was like middle of 2020 to middle of 2022, everything was at or above percentage of list price received. That means if a seller was asking 500,000, it went for 500,000 or above on average
for almost two full years.
For 2 full years, yeah.
Yeah,
that was boring.
It dipped. It dipped in that 2 years down to 100% of asking price.
So, I mean, that's a huge swing to go from up to almost 103% down to the low was end of 2022, where we were about 95%. That's a solid, almost like 8 to 10% swing.
And if you think about it, how you calculate that, for every 100,000, 8% of that is $8,000. So on a $500,000 house, that's a $40,000 swing or negotiation that you're playing.
So it's interesting to me when you look at our median and average sales prices, we're not up to that height peak of the market in 21, 22, but we're getting close. But then when you look at our percentage of original list price received, we're still well below the 103%. Yeah. So that tells me that there's a lot of sellers that are still, when they're getting ready to list, they're like, oh, comps are 500,000, but I want to push for 510.
Yep.
And then they're getting pulled back a little bit, and they're still closing, I mean, closer to where the comps are, but there's not that. Sellers no longer have the flexibility to be like, I'm going to reach for the stars and get it.
Yeah.
And get it. You know, you used to could do that. And now it's like you do that and you kind of pay for it because you get pushed back.
And I think that's this is where we may fight. And I think this is a big, and it's not just us, it's every agent out there.
Yeah.
If you're not communicating like what we're talking about right now to your client, and you pull the comps and then also take in all the little intricacies of their house and give them a realistic number, there's a lot of agents out there that are just going to give you lip service. Yeah. If that's what you want to sell your house for, I'm so desperate. Sure.
Yeah.
And then they get beat up or different things because it's hard to come back and be like, well, I told you this. You know, if you're not over communicating, not beating them up, but here's the reality of it. And that's a hard combo to have. Okay, you want 510 and it's only worth 500?
Well, and how often, Ben, do you know what somebody's house is worth?
You don't. You take everything you can guess.
It's a big fat guesstimate. Like, and we do this all the time, but we're trying to make educated guesses to get you to where you want to be. But if you ever have somebody say your house is worth X, like they don't know unless they're willing to front the cash, pull the trigger and make it happen at that price. Because how many homes have you sold where you're like, oh, this will be gone in 2 seconds and it takes longer, or this one's going to be a hard one to sell. And that perfect buyer out there that's been dreaming about that for years sees it, loves it, and they buy it.
Every time.
Yeah.
I should just guess opposite of what I'm guessing, because the ones I think are going to fly, I'm just like, I feel like an idiot.
Right.
Because I've told them what my predictions are and how the information I've pulled. Yeah. And then the ones I look at, I'm like, hey, this is going to be a hard sell.
Yeah.
And somebody writes an offer 3 days in.
So I've had like 3 listing appointments in the past week, and every one of them, I'm like, this is the range that I feel like you could sell in. And one of them recently, it was a $400,000 range I gave them.
You have to. You
But
really
it
have
makes
to.
me feel like an idiot, right?
Right.
A little bit, because I'm like, I should be able to dial this in slightly better. But when there's no comps and no data, like you're trying to establish a new comp in an area that you have to fight for. You have to show the buyers why it's worth that much and why they should be willing to pay that much. You have to tell the appraiser why it's worth that much. And like I was just in the office this week with you, and you had an appraiser call you asking you questions on like the past 3 or 4 sales that you closed, because he's trying to gather info on a property that he's trying to comp out. And so I don't think the average like consumer realizes how, even if you take an appraiser's opinion on a property or what they appraise it at, it's just another person's educated guess. Mm-hmm. I had one property I sold last year. I had an appraisal at 1.3, at 1.4, and 1.5 in a matter of 3 months. Mm-hmm. Crazy, right?
And it's just, I think a lot of that goes into the work, the areas, especially. I mean, like Morgan, for example, it's hard to pull comps from Morgan.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of sales.
Yeah.
You know, so we're dipping into the valley, but then we're dipping into up in Summit County. And then you have to correct for that factor of being in a different county too. So it very educated guesses. So yeah, I don't blame you for having a $400,000 window. I mean, I probably would have got it to a $200,000 window.
You probably would have.
But you know,
when I was talking with them, I'm like, look, my job is, it's not to tell you what it's worth. It's to say, what's your goal here? Is it price, or is it time, or is it ease of move? Because you can't have all three.
No.
And really it's price or time. Like if you're wanting the price, you're going to have to be patient. We're going to have to come out swinging and see what we can make happen. But then you might have to adjust. We might stand corrected, right? Or you could be pleasantly surprised. There was one property that we just sold this year. We started out, like when I was comping it out, I was like, hey, you're going to be X. We ended up listing at $300,000 more and sold at $250,000 more than the high side that I had originally told them, because one data point changed right before we listed.
Because a comp.
One comp.
Yep. One person went.
This changes everything. Mm-hmm.
And that's really all it does, because you as an agent, that when my buyer asked me, okay, is this house worth that? And I'm going to go, well, let's see what the other one's just like it sold for.
Right.
And then I'm going to look at you and go, if this guy bought his for this much, then you can only assume there's going to be other sellers out there. So yeah, or other buyers.
Right. Yeah.
It's all goes back to what is value. Value is what somebody will sell and what somebody will buy.
Right.
That's what makes the value.
Yeah. And I think our job is portraying the property in the light that people are like, oh, this feels like it is worth that because it's being sold in this way.
Yeah.
And I think people underestimate the art to that that process. Anyways, we beat the price, but it is hard. But it's interesting that we're seeing these median and average closer or still increasing, but the list price percentage of list price received is still down.
Yep.
So this was a funny story too on percentage of list price received. Been negotiating a deal for a while, like back and forth with these sellers, for buyers and sellers. I was representing the buyers it's been over 2 years.
Okay.
Same property. Crazy. We had a huge gap, and then the sellers dropped it over the years. Like they were just so patient. Like it was incredible to see them just like, no, we're going to get this price. And then they relisted lower, and we're like, hey, let's go at it again. And we obviously come in lower, and they're like, nope, we're stuck at this price. And my clients are like, Hayden, don't they know that it's common for people to negotiate in this market? And I'm like, I don't think they do, but I agree like that. That is more common, but I don't think that's just like the sellers have to do it out of courtesy for you. They have to drop the price, but that was a fun conversation. So housing,
that's
affordability.
Yours. Is that me?
No, I got it.
Oh, fine.
This is a fun one. So basically, how affordable is the market in Utah? And this takes the median sales price of homes, median household income, and the prevailing interest rates, and it gives you a number. The lower the number means the less affordable it is. the higher the number, the more affordable it is. So you can see back in 2010 through 13 or 12-ish, we were at like 180 affordability index. We're down to 72.
So I really like how they've actually changed the definition on this. So we're at 72 in May of 2024, like you said. That 72 means at 100% is the amount of income that is necessary to qualify for a home. So if you have 100%, you have exactly enough money to qualify to get into that medium income range. At the medium income, you are 28% low to qualify on the median base for the median priced home.
Yeah.
So that economics, that's scary, right?
Yeah.
So in order to get into a median priced home, you've got to make more than the median household income.
I wonder if that is including dual incomes or if that's just taking one income.
It
says household.
It's household income. So
it's dual.
Just
it's everybody.
It's everybody. So singles to duals to.
I love having this conversation with my dad because I'm like, it's harder.
It is.
It's harder.
It is.
It's harder to survive right now. And he's like, no, it's not. He's like, you go on vacations, you have a motorcycle. I never had any of that stuff. And I'm like, well, maybe I just live a little bit different than you. But
they didn't have to walk uphill, snow in both directions to school.
Yeah. All right. Inventory.
So inventory, the number of properties available for sale in active status at the end of a given month. So this is basically what's for sale right now in the state of Utah. In May of 2023, it was 10,052. In May of 2024, we're 11,336. So we're up 12%. A little over about 1,300 homes more on the market in the Utah.
That's interesting. Can I add a number into there?
Sure. I mean, I guess take it over.
So I just pulled it's a snapshot of today because keep in mind, this is for May. These are May numbers and we are in June now. So if I look at properties as of June 12th, 2024, it says today there were 9,336 homes on the market today. And today's a Wednesday. Keep in mind, if you go back a year, June 12th of 2023, which was a Monday, there were 7,652 homes on the market. I like that it's comparing a Monday to a Wednesday. And keep in mind, I pulled this morning. So if you look at the solds, there's 0 solds here. There's 22% difference in May, which is interesting, or in June. Today, 22% more listings on the market compared to May. There was 12%. But again, that's comparing the number of properties available for sale in active status at the end of a given month.
So what we're looking at is day to day, how much flux we can have inside a month. By the end of the month and it settles out, we're roughly 12% month to month, year to year. However, the swing from the start of May to the end of May can do this drastically too. Start of the week to the end of the week. What's the best day to list in your opinion, or time frame to list?
Wednesday or Thursday.
Wednesday or Thursday, yep.
Yeah.
To list those so you have more listings coming live. Most contracts get written on a what? Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, and so you'll see all the closings pile up. Like most homes close on a Wednesday through Friday. Very few close on a Monday through Wednesday or Monday, Tuesday. But I would say that I think in June's numbers, we are going to see this 12% push 15 to 20% is my prediction as far as inventory of homes for sale.
See, and I feel like you're taking personal feelings into that with what you got going on.
Maybe.
I think it's still moving out there. The biggest thing I see is that's driving that, though. I mean, you might be correct, but I don't think it's as drastic as you think. I think it's normal. We see this every year. June, July, start of August, people are like, okay, we're having fun vacationing. I mean, July has 3 holidays in it. People are camping like crazy. And then you get out of July and you're going to see it spike again, just like it has year after year.
Yeah, as far as activity goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So are you just stuck in the normal, the June and July blues or what?
We're gonna talk about this.
Okay,
but let's finish
change the
this
subject.
Let's finish the month supply.
The inventory of a home sale at the end of any given month divided by the average monthly pending sales from the last 12 months. So this month's supply of inventory gives that adage of buyer's market, seller's market. And they say as in, I don't know who they are, but they say about 6 months of inventory means buyer's market, and less than that means you're still in a seller's market. Take that for what it's worth. So right now we have, in May of 2023, we had 3.1 months of inventory on the market, meaning if we didn't have any more listings, it would take 3.1 months to sell them all. In May of 2024, it's going to take us 3.4 months to sell them all if we have no new listings come on. So just small trends up. We're just still doing that gradual uptick, just like everything else we have.
Small trends, that's a double.
That's not a double.
That's double from last month. Last month we were up 3%. Now we're up, that's over double.
No, it's not.
3% to 9% increase. I'm just saying like the percentage of increase. So in April we went up 3.4%. Now we're up 9.7%. So we're seeing a pretty consistent uptick as far as inventory on the market.
Correct. I'll give you that.
I will say
it.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that in June, when June's numbers come out, I'm just going to say we're going to be at a 4.
Wow, that's a big jump.
4 months supply. And if I am wrong, I'll buy you lunch.
Sushi?
Oh, expensive palate.
So if anything under a 4, I buy you. Or
okay.
Anything at 4 or over, I buy you lunch.
Okay.
You heard it. Sealed in blood.
So, and that's all of our updates that we are going to go over. But I want to talk about why I'm feeling slightly frustrated right now. It's interesting because in the beginning of the year, the Fed, everybody was talking about lowering interest rates, pulling back. And then we saw I saw a big spike on our activity on listings this spring. And I was like excited. I'm like, like multiple offers were starting to come back more. It was a noticeable like spike in action. And that, when would you say that was? February through April, probably.
When people started getting busted. Actually, I would say April, May.
Okay. I would say March and April. I would say May.
March and April, excuse me.
So keep in mind, and I will say that some of these numbers that we're reviewing in May, the closings that we see in May were from activity in March and April. And I did multiple deals, and I remember talking with clients like, hey, we are seeing like the spring fever come out, and it was getting exciting. And I feel like it went up like this, exciting, and then it's just been like, for me, it's been like, I've noticed a big decrease.
So let me ask you this. Why do you think it decreased?
Because I think you had all this hype around Fed's going to lower rates and buyers were getting excited, and every agent on Instagram was talking about that, including us, saying like, hey, good things are coming. We're excited. This is going to happen. And what has happened, that has not happened. Rates have actually been hovering around the same. We've seen some upticks and then lowered, but it's been, right now you're about 7% to get into a house. And so we have rising prices that have continually been going up and kind of a market that's slowly been heating. But this buyer pool, I think, has not felt any relief. No. And so with higher housing prices and interest rates staying the same, I would say our demand is actually decreasing or staying the same right now. But with the higher housing prices that we've seen, like in April, an uptick of 9% on the average or 3%, like those are making homes less affordable, and we see that in the Affordability Index. So I think I would say our buyer pool is at a plateau, if not decreasing. However, while our supply, you have all these sellers that have been like, I can't sell because I have a 3% interest rate. Well, people can only hold on to those for so long before it's like, I have to sell now. I have to move. I have to get a job. I have to do this. Like these life changes are forcing them to come out and put their houses up for sale, which is the spike in supply that we're seeing. So we're increasing supply over here, but the buyer pool is staying the same. And so as that happens, I think we will start to see days on market creep up. And I think it will start to affect our pricing. And the reason I'm so adamant,
Debbie Downer. I mean, sorry, Adamant's
Debbie,
good dude.
Yeah. So I did an open house. Well, Suzanne did two open houses 2 weeks ago on a Saturday. We had one person come through both of them.
And mind you, we market the crap out of open houses.
Yeah.
Online.
We post them days in
postcards.
advance. We run Facebook ads. We post them on all the websites. We pay for them to be posted on KSL. Like we put them out. We put out signs.
Yep.
So she did 2 open houses, had one total group come through, one person. And to do an open house, it takes a lot of time. It's a Saturday. It's just not an enjoyable, fun thing to do if they're dead. And I can count, I've been doing this for almost 10 years or 10 years now. 2024. Yeah, it's been 10 years. And monthly, I do on average a couple of open houses every month. I can count on one hand in my whole history of doing open houses how many open houses have had 0 attendees. I did 3 open houses on Saturday from 9 to 5, one in Perry, one in Taylor, and one in West Haven. And the one in West Haven was a townhome, 420,000 entry-level home. Those normally, I'm getting 10 to 20 showings the first week. I did not have one person come through any one of those 3 open houses the entire day. And I feel like I'm having these conversations consistently with my sellers where it's like, hey, I'm reviewing past data and we seem to be priced pretty well. I don't know why your home is not selling as quick as we would like it to.
I think we know it's just time over price. Right?
So it's going to take more time?
More time.
Yeah.
Because there's less buyers.
Yeah.
That's exactly, I agree 100% with this. However, where I differ a little bit is I think a lot of what's happening, and not necessarily just you, don't get mad at me.
This is why Ben says this is because his open house on Saturday, he had 6 groups come through.
And actually one of them made an offer, so not a big deal or anything. I think the biggest issue we're having in the market right now is we as agents, as well as sellers especially, are not willing to negotiate, to price a little more competitive. Everybody wants that extra star, right? They want it a little bit more than what they think you can get, or they've got predetermined in their mind what they want to get, or they have to get this in order to maintain the same lifestyle. And it's all valid points, right? Not bagging on anybody, but that just has to become a reality for people, and they have to understand. And even you, like you've had one where you've told them, like, here's the high, median, and low. If you're here, we're going to be a long time. And they haven't even got, they're fighting you to get to that median range.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then people still wonder, and even agents will fall into the pit of despair of why the heck I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm going above and beyond. Why it's not selling. I think those hard conversations just have to be had.
Right.
And that will actually change the tone a little bit and set a more realistic expectation. Yes, our numbers might stay the same. They might keep going up, but I think we as agents have to be very clear, like, this is a tough market.
Yeah.
It's not dead.
No.
It's not able to make money. You just have to be able to pivot, move fast. You know, the market doesn't lie. Like we were talking in our meeting this morning, the market is spoken, right?
Right.
If you go active and you've been dead for 2 weeks, not a showing, you need to do something.
4 weeks. I had one 4 weeks. Yeah.
Like, the sellers need to understand, like, hey, there's 2 options you have at this point. If your agent's doing everything they can, you need a price drop
or be patient.
Yep. And that's fine. And
you can't have both.
And you can't. You really can't.
You can't get the top price. I mean, sometimes you can get lucky and it goes fast, but
if the market speaks,
right,
it speaks, right?
Yeah. So my prediction of what we're kind of on the same page where
I'm just not sad about it.
And I agree. I have to have a shift in how I'm approaching sellers right now, because I think I have still been stuck in like, oh, we can be a little bit more on the offensive side. price a little bit ahead and we can net you a little bit more, because that makes me feel good to get sellers more than what they might have thought, or move it faster. But right now that's just not the market that we're in. And so now it's a more realistic being, like, we on our side as agents, we are doing more for our clients than we ever had. Like, we're trying to get creative. How can we get these moved, run more ads, do more open houses? It's way more work now than it's ever been.
And way more expensive for us.
And way more expensive. And it's just, it gets frustrating when you're like, man, I took a full Saturday, ran Facebook ads, did all this extra work, only to have 0 people come through, right?
I've even changed how I talk to clients when we're halfway through the process, both buyer and seller. Like, loans are harder to get, sales are harder to get across the finish line.
Yeah.
Like, I used to be able to go, hey, congratulations, we're under contract, we're on the home stretch.
Yeah.
Now I know, can I make that phone call and say, hey, good job, guys, I just submitted, we are under contract. I want you to be excited, and I want you to be nervous, and I want you to be afraid, and I want you to take all of that, and I want you to ball it up until we're done.
Right.
And until you have that check in your hand,
it's not done.
And I tell them, hey, if you're going to tell your family, I want you to be in the mindset like we just started this race. Like, tell them be excited, but say, hey, we're just starting. So
And like over the weekend, we did have one group come through a private showing on one of those homes, submitted an offer. It was lower. We got them up to a price that we felt like was agreeable. And I was like triple checking with the lender, hey, can the buyers do this? She's like, let me run their credit one more time. Their credit dropped just barely. She's like, sorry, they can't afford that. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, thank heavens we knew that now, versus tying it up for 2 weeks and not having any showings.
Yep.
So that's kind of the state of the market that we're in. I truly believe that there's just this limited buyer pool of people, and unless interest rates adjust, that would affect their buying power. And as we get more and more sellers, it's adding more.
We're putting fuel on a fire that hasn't been lit yet, I think.
Yeah. And it's affecting that supply and demand curve. So the more supply that we get, it will affect our days on market, and it will affect our pricing if you want to sell.
Negatively for a seller.
Yes.
That's what we're talking.
This is the first podcast that we've been on. I feel like if you were to watch our last one compared to this one, I remember saying, like, next month, we're seeing more listings and all this is good. But what we haven't seen is the demand light up. We're seeing fire on the seller side, more listings, more inventory, but I don't see any sign of this buyer pool increasing.
Exactly. A buyer and a seller aren't adversely proportional, right? So buyers get more, but sellers go down, sellers go down.
Yeah.
Right now we're in sellers are hurting and buyers are still hurting.
Right.
It's just hard.
But it's giving buyers more power. They now have more options to view, and they don't have to wait. Like, they can take their time and be like, oh, I have 3 options to choose from. Who's hurting the worst?
Qualified buyers or cash buyers are the ones that are reaping right now.
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about that, because on one particular house we've had offers, had like 5 offers. 3 of them had houses to sell. And 2 of those offers are still trying to sell that stupid freaking house that they've been trying to sell for the past few months, like we have. So I'm like telling the sellers, I'm like, there's buyers out there that want your house. They just have a house to sell too.
Which is easier. It used to be a little bit quicker, more seamless of a process.
Yeah. But we're going on, like, some of these guys, like, we got an offer, 3 months ago, and that buyer is still trying to sell that house that would then allow them to be able to buy this house.
I mean, not to rub it in, and I'm going to knock on wood, but I mean, we had that same situation, but we're actually, everything's under contract and starting to go.
But
everyone saw that.
What you guys can take away from this is, if you're looking to sell a house, call Ben.
Well, yeah, obviously. And I'm going to lie to you and tell you it's going to be a horrible experience. So when it's not as bad as we thought, you'll be happy.
Yeah.
No, it is a hard market. And I think the biggest thing is over communication.
Yeah.
Like, to the point of annoyance. I know it sounds bad, but, and just having those hard combos. I think that's our agents, where an agent will separate a little bit, is he's able to look at somebody and say, this is how it is.
Right.
End of story. Like, with what the market's doing. If we get better, we get better. If not, like, you can yell at me if you want. It won't do any good, but here's where we're at.
Right. If you want to sell, this is what it's going to take. Yeah. Because the market it speaks pretty quick and clearly. And you're like,
and if you're not going to adjust and flow with the market, you got to be patient. And I'm talking patient. Could be an extra month, could be an extra 5 months, could be pull
Extra
off,
year.
Reset your days on market, take a 30-day hiatus on market,
right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree. I agree with all that. And again, keep in mind, this all could change by
Tomorrow.
next. Yeah. Fed could come out dropping rates.
Yeah.
Like, who knows?
It's weird how quick a market can shift and how there's all these little micro pressures that, the Feds could just say they're thinking about dropping rates and you'll see a spike.
Yeah.
You'll hear inventory. You might hear our podcast, because we have a massive following on this. And people are going to go, hey, what they're saying, I'm going to get out in the buyer's market because I just heard the sellers are getting beat up and I'm qualified. I'm getting out there. I didn't know that. So it's all about information, data, and it changes. So,
well, and it's different. Like over the past week, I still run into multiple offers. I've run into 3 this past week. So keep in mind that this is not like, there's still those unique properties that there are plenty of buyers out there. I feel like the buyers are just super picky. Like, they're going after the home run, A+, like unique, hard to find property. So if you have one of those, you'll have great activity. But if there's like 5 or 6 other homes similar to yours on the market right now, like, it's going to be a little bit harder of a hit.
For sure.
So keep that in mind. We had every month we do a Ogden Valley broker tour, and there's 20, 30 agents there. 30's on the high side. It's probably closer to 20, 25. And it's fun talking to the agents there because you're just like, what are you seeing? What's going on? And I think everybody is in the same boat where it's like, it's super unpredictable. Some stuff sells quick, other stuff it takes way longer. Like, it's a strange market.
Misery loves company. So if everybody out there is struggling, you're like, man, I feel a little bit better about my struggle. So,
right. But hopefully this helps give you guys some insight as to what we're seeing. Because I feel like this data that we're seeing in June, well, we will not be reviewing this until July, August.
No. Would you say I'm off base to call out to, like, hey, buyers, like,
give us a call.
Now's your time. Like, in the next foreseeable 5-6 months, like,
yeah.
Right now, the pressure's on the sellers. If you're qualified and can get the loans and are wanting to, like, now's the time to negotiate. Now's the time to
100%.
Try it.
Yeah. I had a terrible experience with a property, and it's nobody's fault except mine. I bought into a property in Bear Lake, rented horribly. And we're like, we got to get out of this. I had partners.
Time out. We're going to be doing a whole nother podcast.
I know. I want to mention this.
A teaser. We're teasering right now.
A little teaser.
Here's a little teaser.
But going out to buyers, and I think as agents, we forget this too, but had to sell that property. Terrible. Like, took a hit on it, and it wasn't an enjoyable experience. But then I had some clients, friends of mine that had 3 duplexes that I was like, hey, would you guys be interested in selling these? And got it at a killer seller finance deal. Like, it was amazing. Home run. So we were able to take those funds and buy 3 duplexes. So I sold a bad property. We didn't make money, right?
But you got your cash out.
But we got my cash out. And then I was able to put that cash into 3 duplexes that will, like, right now, it's going to be a little bit of a grind to get them to where they're producing. But 5-10 years down the road, those are going to be like
pivot
home run hits.
Yep.
Like,
pivot.
Yeah.
You got to be able to pivot. Even a seller or a buyer, your house isn't moving, you got to be able to pivot. If you can't pivot, patience.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, thank you guys for coming along for the journey.
We didn't even have that big of a fight either.
It wasn't a fight. I thought we were going to have to get our boxing gloves out. Turns out we're on the same page after all. Till next time.
See you later.